Last year, at the 2024 Indianapolis 500, Josef Newgarden became just the 6th driver to win the race in consecutive years over the course of its 108 runnings. This weekend, he will try to achieve what none of the other 5 could, and that is win the race for a 3rd year in a row. The fact that just 6 drivers in the race's history have won in back-to-back years shows just how hard it is to do, so if he can make it 3 straight, it would be an incredible achievement. But what happened to the other 5 drivers when they tried to make it 3 in a row? Well, all 5 of them actually ran strong, but couldn't finish it off with a win for various reasons. Let's take a look back at the previous attempts at 3 straight Indy 500 wins. The first driver to win back-to-back Indy 500s and go for 3 in a row was Wilbur Shaw, who won in 1939 and 1940. He also won the 1937 race and finished second in 1938, so he was going for 4 wins in 5 years and wasn't far off from going for 5 in a row. In 1941, he qualified a strong 3rd, but at the start of the race, 2nd place starter Rex Mays took off to the lead for the first 38 laps, being chased by pole sitter Mauri Rose along with Shaw. On lap 39, Rose took the lead, with Shaw not far behind. Just a few laps later, on lap 45, Shaw took the lead from Rose, and when Rose retired after 60 laps, it looked like Shaw would take the win unchallenged. He led for the next 107 laps, at which point he led by over a lap, but as he entered turn 1 on lap 152, his rear right wheel failed, causing him to crash into the wall. Shaw would be injured in the crash, spending a few weeks in hospital, where he said he would have won the race. Shaw believed that what happened was that during practice, there is a wheel that he had trouble balancing, so he marked it to use last. On race morning, though, there was a fire in the garage area that delayed the start of the race, and Shaw believes that chalk got washed off the wheel when the fire was being put out, and that was the wheel that failed. Shaw also said after the crash that despite the injury, he planned on returning to race again in 1942, but that race never happened. Due to World War II, the Indy 500 was not ran again until 1946, at which point Shaw was now the president of the Speedway, helping bring the race back after the war, and he never raced in the 500 again. The next driver to go for 3 in a row was Mauri Rose. Rose actually was a co-winner of the 1941 race following Shaw's retirement, taking over the car of Floyd Davis midway through. He would then go on to win again in 1947 and 1948, going for his 3rd in a row in 1949. Rose qualified 10th, but the early stages of the race were dominated by Duke Neylan. On lap 24, Neylan had a heavy crash, which then turned the lead over to Rex Mays, but his engine failed shortly after, then turning the lead over to Lee Wallard. His lead wouldn't last long after either, retiring with gearbox issues, which led to Rose's teammate Bill Holland taking the lead on lap 55. Holland appeared to have the race in control, and with Rose running second as the race entered its closing stages, team owner Lou Moore asked both drivers to take it easy the rest of the race. It appeared that Rose's chances of 3 straight wins was over, but this scenario occurred 2 years earlier in 1947. Holland leading Rose in a 1-2 finish, and Moore asking the drivers to take it easy. Holland did so, while Rose did not. Rose then took the lead on lap 193, with Holland waving him by, thinking that Rose was just unlapping himself. Would the drivers follow the orders again in 1949? Well, Holland did back off a bit, but not as much as he did 2 years prior, while Rose kept pushing hard to try to take the win again. This time, drama occurred on lap 192, but it didn't involve Rose taking the lead. Instead, Rose's car failed, forcing him to retire, allowing Holland to cruise home for his lone 500 win. Both Rose and Moore were angry with how the situation played out, with Rose annoyed that his car failed, and Moore furious that Rose disobeyed team orders, leading to Rose never driving for Moore again. Rose continued to try for a fourth win in 1950, finishing third, and then crashing out in his final Indy 500 start in 1951. We don't need to move too far ahead for the next attempt at 3 straight wins, which was by Bill Vukovich in 1955. Vukovich started his first Indy 500 in 1951, and it didn't take long for him to establish himself as the top driver at the speedway of the day. After an early retirement in 51, he dominated the 52 race, leading 150 laps, but retired from the lead on lap 192 when his steering failed. He then won in 1953 and 1954, leading 285 laps combined between the two races, so had he held on in 1952, he could have won a third in a row in 1954. In 1955, he qualified a solid fifth, and the early stages became a battle between Vukovich and third-place starter Jack McGrath. McGrath took the lead at the start, while Vukovich took a lap to get up to second behind McGrath, but on lap 4, Vukovich made a move to take the lead. McGrath then took the lead back on lap 15, but only held it for a lap when Vukovich retook the lead again himself. The two swapped the lead again, with McGrath taking it on lap 25, and then Vukovich retaking it 2 laps later. Vukovich started to maintain a lead over McGrath at this point, and then on lap 54, McGrath pulled into the pits to retire with magneto failure. With his main challenger gone, it looked like Vukovich would be able to cruise home to the win as long as his car would last. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. Just 2 laps later on lap 56, Roger Ward crashed on the backstretch. Al Keller lost control of his car trying to avoid the crash, which made contact with Johnny Boyd, who then made contact with Vukovich. This sent Vukovich over the fence on the backstretch, with his car somersaulting through the air before landing upside down when it caught fire. Vukovich was killed instantly. A race that looked like Vukovich would pull off the magical feat of 3 in a row turned into a tragic ending. Vukovich is also the only driver apart from Newgarden to have his back-to-back wins as their only 2 Indy 500 wins. Next up comes the first 4-time winner we have on this list, and that is Al Unser Sr., who made his attempt for 3 in a row in 1972. He dominated the 1970 race from pole, leading 190 laps, while in 1971 he started 5th and led 103 laps, driving one of the most iconic cars in Indy 500 history both years, the Johnny Lightning Special. Unfortunately for Unser, he wasn't as strong as he was the last 2 years, with the new Parnelli car he drove that year not being as strong as some of its competitors. He only qualified 19th, but did quietly make it up the field through the day, being helped by a few drivers retiring from the lead. As the race entered its final laps, Unser had made it up to 3rd, but was still well behind race leader Mark Donohue and Jerry Grant in 2nd place. That's where he would finish on track, with Donohue taking Penske's first Indy 500 win, but after the race, Grant was penalized and no longer scored after lap 188 due to taking fuel from teammate Bobby Unser's fuel tank. This promoted Unser to 2nd, but still nowhere near the quicker Donohue. Despite the strong 2nd place finish, of the 5 back-to-back winners, Unser may have been the furthest from making it 3 in a row. The most recent driver to go for 3 in a row is Helio Castroneve, who did so in 2003. He became the first driver to win his first 2 Indy 500 starts the previous 2 years, which included a controversial finish with Paul Tracy in 2002. Castroneve became the first driver going for 3 in a row to qualify on pole, and took the lead early, being out in front for the first 16 laps. He lost the lead when he came to the pits under a yellow and wouldn't take the lead again until lap 95, but remained among the front runners throughout that period. He held the lead briefly, but then regained it again in lap 129 during yellow flag pit stops and started to look like he was in control of the race, holding the lead until he pitted again in lap 165. Castroneve was set to regain the lead after the pit stop cycle, but just a few laps after pitting, his teammate Josef Newgarden passed him on the back straight as they passed the lap car of AJ Foyt IV. At this point, the two Penske's were in control of the race, meaning the only thing that stood between Castroneve and history was his teammate. He stayed as close as possible to Newgarden, but could never find a way by, and as they came around to complete the final lap, Castroneve was just under 0.3 of a second short of victory and a third straight win. Like Unser, who finished second in his attempt for 3 in a row, Castroneve would finally get his third win 6 years later in 2009, and would eventually add a fourth win in 2021, and is still trying to add an unprecedented fifth win. Overall, while no one has yet to win 3 Indy 500s in a row, all the drivers ran relatively well, but just couldn't finish the job. We'll see this weekend how Newgarden fits into the picture and if he can make history. Do you think Newgarden will become the first driver to win 3 Indy 500s in a row this weekend? Also, what feat do you think would be more impressive? Newgarden becoming the first driver to win 3 in a row, or Castroneve becoming the first driver to win a 5th Indy 500? Let me know in the comments, as I'd be interested to hear what you think. Thanks for watching.